All right. Well, welcome to How Real Estate Changed My Life. And today I've got Ryan Swift, who I think can in every way say real estate has changed his life. And he's a buddy of mine. I get barbecue with him once a month. And it's one of those times I always look forward to. And I love listening to what his next project is every time. Because I'm going to say not a traditional trajectory as far as real estate investing, but I think a very common one at the beginning, and then it's kind of just gone off in its own direction. So I would love to kind of hear your story. So let's tell me a little bit about what you are and what you think, and then let's kind of roll into real estate.
So, my background comes from IT. I've done IT work for over 20 years, and I always had a knack for computers. I wasn't college educated. I was actually high school dropouts and self-taught. I taught myself everything I needed to know about computers, everything I needed to know about cars, and a lot with real estate. So a lot of that self-teaching, I'm not saying college isn't a good thing. I'm just saying that was my path. I didn't go to college. I did take some college classes. I took a lot of tech classes as well. Back in the day before YouTube, before podcasts and stuff like that, it was a lot of reading books, and if you could find other people listening to how they did it, and, how they put that stuff together. Working an IT job, I enjoyed doing IT work. Thing is, usually they want you to work 50, 60, 70 hours, be on call all the time. The pay's good, but it started, I asked that question of kind of quality of life. Do I want to keep working until I'm 65, 70 years old, and then hoping that I'm still in good physical condition at that point to where I can do something like I enjoy cycling, motorcycle, dirt bike, hiking, camping, off-roading, all kinds of motorsports and stuff like that as well. So can I ask myself the question like, hey, when I'm 65, 70 years old, am I going to have the money to do it? Am I have the time to do it? But the older I get, the more I realize a lot of people aren't in great health by the time they get there. And some people never even make it.
Yeah.
So that,
just creeping you on Facebook alone will tell me that you're enjoying those things. The off-roading, the Corvette, the camping, the cycling. You and I are going to go cycling in a week, so I'm looking forward to that. You'll see how slow I go. But, I'm looking forward to it.
Totally okay. Like same thing with like motorsports. Mm-hmm. I'm not the fastest. I'm not a professional race car driver. It's just about going out there and having fun, being safe, having fun. Same thing with a bicycle. I'm not going to do the Tour de France. I'm not that fast. I'm never going to be that fast, but I enjoy riding.
Now, did you get into real estate or buy real estate because of this, or was this something that you were already working on real estate and then realized you kind of need to accelerate?
Yeah. So with that idea that I'm going to be working basically until I'm old or dead, was the idea of like, well, what can I do to where I'm not trading every hour of my life for a set dollar amount? Mm-hmm. And that's what most people do in a W-2 job. I'm worth X dollars per hour. And I had to figure something out. Reading some of the books and such, I figured that if I could have some type of business or set up something that generates income, whether or not I'm awake or whether or not I'm here or wherever I'm at, if I can have something that like set up little franchises. And initially I started this before real estate. I did a vending business.
All right. That's not the first time I've heard that from somebody in real estate.
Yeah. So I had soda machines and snack machines, and you can place a machine there and, 24 hours a day can generate income. You go there every now and then to service the machine. That's a good concept. And I did the business for a little while and ended up, I got another job offer, made more money, and I sold out that business and sold out most of my machines and stuff like that. It just wasn't to the scale that I needed it. Mm-hmm. In the time I was doing the soda machine business, I also bought my first rental. So when I was 20 years old, it's a long time ago. I was 20 years old.
Wow.
I bought my primary home. Mm-hmm. Okay. So my first home I bought when I was 20 years old. I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but it's pretty easy to qualify for that. Of course, homes were a lot cheaper. Mm-hmm. The home that I'm in now is 2.5 times the value of what it was when I purchased it first. It's the same house when I purchased. I haven't moved from that house. So I'm very frugal in that sense. I think maybe, 9 months or 10 months later, I bought my first rental. And it was a bank foreclosure, and it was a husband and wife team. The wife did the bank foreclosure. She was a real estate agent, and the husband did financing. And it was a house that was a foreclosure, needed a little bit of work. So I did most of the work. I learned most of the work. I called up a buddy who did tile. Said, "Hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me do some painting?" Like I'd have people come and help me, and I would do a lot of the sweat equity to get started. And I knew going into this wasn't a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
I was always in for the long haul of game. It's about cash flow, and that's what I was really looking for. Is I was looking to supplement my W-2 income so that I didn't have to work until I'm 65 years old. Some people do wholesaling and flips and such like that, and I just yeah, you can make some money on that, but it's still like, okay, once you sell it, then you got to go back and you got to start the process all over
Yeah.
again.
It's a cycle. Yeah.
So I really like the idea of like, I just have this idea in my head that I'm like setting up these little franchises, like property one, property two, property three, and I put those together.
You were making money out of the gate on the first house?
Not much.
Okay.
Yeah, not much. It was pretty, I wasn't making much money. I didn't have much money in savings. It was like, I don't have a budget. This is before I even knew to like put together a budget on a spreadsheet. Just kind of winging this thing. I learned enough to be dangerous. I didn't know enough how to do the whole thing. So, when I got started into, I was nervous. I was scared. I didn't know I'm putting together my own flyer. I'm sticking a for rent sign in the yard, and I have like little flyers in the tube, and I'm putting it like on Craigslist to like list it, and that's a whole nother story about
it is. I can imagine.
We did have some bad tenants in some of those. But now, it was maybe $100, $200 a month profit. It wasn't much. It was kind of covering it. I just had this vision that long term, okay, this is going to pay out. I'm going to put in a lot of equity. I'm going to keep on building this up. And eventually in the long term, both through appreciation, tax deductions, which that's huge when you work a W-2 job. I can take all these expenses as tax deductions, even if I'm losing money on the house or all the money I put into rehab while I'm making good money on W-2. I can deduct all the tax. And on top of that, generally speaking, rents go up, and then the principal and interest stay the same. Your taxes and insurance go up a little bit, but not at the pace that rents go up.
That's pretty good to be early 20s and having that foresight, because most don't have that foresight. So how long did it take before you decided to get the next one?
So I think I got the next one, gosh, I don't know, 6 or 8 months later.
Oh, wow. So that was fast.
Yeah, it wasn't very long at all. I did the first one. I'm like, all right, let's do the second one. The first one needed a little bit of work. The second one it was pretty bad. I'm going to keep it PG, not using the cuss words. It was, let me just say, it's a 2-story house. We were tearing up the carpet, rolling it up, and throwing it out the top floor window because it was covered in dog poop and pee. And it's like, it was before COVID, but you were wearing a mask anywhere around the house. So that was a lot of work.
It was a lot of fun, though, wasn't it?
It's
fun. It's fun looking back at doing that. For me,
it was fun learning a lot of the new things. Like I had to learn more about plumbing, more about electrical and stuff like that.
And kilts.
So it was fun doing a lot of it. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of sweat equity. Because keep in mind, I'm working an 8-hour day job, and so after work, I would go directly to this house. I wouldn't even stop by my house. I'd go directly to this house, and I'd pick up tools, and I'd just start working. And I'd have somebody, my girlfriend that I was with at the time, would bring me dinner, or my grandmother would bring me dinner, and I'd sit on a paint can and I'd eat dinner. And then I'd just keep on working. I'd work till 11 o'clock, midnight at night, come home, go to sleep, get up the next morning, do it all over again. And weekends, I wasn't with my buddies hanging out, partying, doing fun stuff, going to the lake or whatever. I worked Saturday and Sunday getting this house ready because I had a timeline. I got to get this done. I didn't have the money to pay other people. So I was working really hard to get that one put together, and then I need to get it rented as quick as I can because every month I'm having to make this mortgage payment and taxes and insurance. Like I said, starting on the beginning, it was pretty nerve-wracking. I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm scared to do it. I don't know enough about it. I didn't know enough about it. I just had to start somewhere. And you learn so much by getting into it and doing it. I had enough money that, I could float paying for that extra mortgage as well. But it also meant that, I forego other things, like I didn't have a new car. I was driving an old truck at the time. I didn't spend a lot. I was pretty frugal on other things. I didn't spend a lot of money on other services and things like that, so that I could put my money into this. And that goes back to the whole principle of a lot of the books I read. It's like, the cash you make from your W-2 job, you want to put that in something that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Make, that money you make from the W-2, put it in something that makes you money, and then live off that money that money makes you.
Right.
Saying correctly.
Yeah, you want money to make money, not you out there working hard for it. Yeah.
And you look at a lot of the wealthy people out there, and that's what they do. The money they make, they put it in investments, all different types of investments, and that money that investment makes, that's what they live off of.
Mm-hmm. So you got 20 years under your belt on this then? Yeah.
So here's kind of the weird thing is, like, I did 4 or 5 rental properties. And I think so I took a little break between those 2 because I need those to get rented out and get paid on those. And then I bought 2 more. I think this is in early 2007, somewhere around there, 2006, 2007, right when my daughter's mom was pregnant at the time. So we're about to have a kid. And these are both going to be flips. I'm going to make some money on these. I'm going to flip them right quick. We did work on both of them. The first one needed a fair amount of work. Second one needed a lot of work. I was actually doing the first one that I just planned on doing one. And I don't remember if I got a call or saw something in the market is like $65,000 for this house. And I'm like, oh man, no, sorry, it was $80,000 in a estate sale. And I was making multiple offers at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was putting out a bunch of offers. Now I remember that's what happened. I was putting out a bunch of offers, a lot of them being rejected. That's fine. I'm not looking for retail price. I'm looking for below retail price. And at that time, the market was pretty hot. It was going 2006, 2007. It was going pretty good. So one of them that was a state that the kids were trying to sell, they listed the house for like 85 or 89, but had some bad foundation work. I think I offered him 65 for it. And in the meantime, I bought this other house and I was already working on that. Agent calls me back. He's like, hey, we don't have any other higher offers. I got to do something. Can you go up from 65? I already had a house I'm working on. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, 66. He's like, sold, you got it. And I'm like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, you were more interested in it before you had the other one. So yeah, I've been in that situation before too. And
now I got 2 I'm remodeling. And so I get them both done. I list them both on the market for sale. And right as I list them on the market for sale, the market crashes. Late 2007 or early 2008, the market just crashes. Even if somebody wanted to buy it, the banks won't even lend. Everybody's just...
Yeah, they were like not even lending at all for a little short period of time.
So for people that weren't around or doing real estate from back then, it was like, imagine beginning of the pandemic, 2020, March, where all the banks and everybody's like, well, let's just hold and wait till we know what's going on.
Yeah.
That was pretty much 2008 where the banks were like, I don't care, even if you're putting 50% down, we don't know what's going on. So they just halted everything. And of course, I'm like, oh, geez, what do I do? And, with any situation like that, you got to think, okay, where can you pivot? I'm going to pivot and do something else. And so what I did is I put them up for rent. And both of them rented right away because people who are getting foreclosed on or people that are having to move out of houses that they bought too much, they still need a place to live. So they come rent something cheaper. And I wasn't making any money on those houses at that time. But you know what? I wasn't losing any money. So the house that I bought, just quick example, a house I bought for 66, we probably put like 20,000 rehab into it. I put a lot of sweat equity into it. I want to say, I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I want to say it was probably about a $300,000 house right now. And I still own it.
Yeah. That's what time does. Isn't it great?
Yeah, it is amazing.
Now let's fast forward maybe. Now, did you use any of that equity to help on future acquisitions?
Yeah, absolutely. So timing is key in a lot of this stuff. Back then, a lot of those rates I was getting was, 6 3/4, 6 7/8, or maybe 7% financing. And that was a norm back then. A lot of people are saying, well, rates are high right now. No, that's kind of what they were.
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah.
10, 20 years ago, that's kind of what investment rates were. So during times when the rates actually dipped down low, I would refinance some of those, or as equity would build up, I'd refinance. I mean, a great example is in late 2020 when the banks started lending again, rates, when the Fed dropped the rate to like 0 and banks had super crazy low rates. One of the things I did was I had two first properties I bought. I think I had at that time probably over $200,000 equity in there. And I was able to refinance at a lower rate. And I pulled out over $100,000 of equity from those houses. And what I did with that is I took all that money and I used that for a down payment to buy a bigger commercial property. In late 2020, I bought an RV park. And that was just like, going from the green Monopoly houses to the red hotel.
And it's been fun watching you with the RV parks.
Yeah, that's been a learning curve. It's also, getting into the RV parks, it kind of reminds me of when I first started, when I bought my first house. When I got into the RV park, I didn't really know a whole lot about running an RV park. I didn't know a whole lot about how commercial, that scale commercial financing and business operates. I knew enough to be dangerous and kind of get into it, know that I was getting into a decent transaction. I did a full financial analysis. I looked at, 2 years worth of data, put it all together in a spreadsheet, making sure that it made enough profit to where it paid for itself and more. But also, too, that was a time when in 2020, everybody is, they're staying home, they're playing video games, they're taking a break from work. Not everybody. I mean, some people working really hard, but a lot of people, I saw a lot of my friends are like, hey, we're playing video games. We don't have to work that much right now. Or we're going to be on unemployment for a year or two or something like that. I'm never like that. Like, I was working harder than ever at my IT job. And I'm like, how can I take advantage of this situation? I'm always looking at like, I can't control some of the political forces. I can't control some of the markets and stuff like that. But I always look to see how can I use that as a tool to better leverage my position. At that time, rates were amazing. I could refinance and get some equity. The value of these houses were going up considerably as well. Then the year, I think it's earlier, and it was actually earlier that year, I took a trip to Colorado and I went by some RV parks on the way there, and it sparked a little idea in my head. I said, wait, if they can make, let's just say $100, $200 a month per space, they don't have a roof, they don't have carpet, tile, water heater, they don't have air conditioner, they don't have any of those things to worry about. They have an electrical connection, a sewer, and a water line.
Yeah.
And a concrete pad. So I was like, wow, that sounds like maybe something I want to get into. And so I started looking, there's websites you can research this information on. There's agents that just deal with RV parks. You can just Google search RV parks for sale and you come up with websites and listings and stuff like that. Of course, you have to do your due diligence, just like any transaction. And I looked at a few of them, and I settled on one that made sense in an area that I liked. It wasn't too far away from me, and purchased it. And I've been running it for 2.5 years now. And by far, of everything I have together, the RV park generates as much income as all my other rentals put together.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Now, was it difficult financing an RV park versus a house?
Yeah, so it's going into that commercial space is totally different than a single family rental. Both appraising it and getting lending for it was different. One of the things I did was with the agent that I worked with, he turned me on to a guy that puts together financials or puts together financials of commercial properties and basically solicits it to different banks to see if they want to lend on this. It wasn't cheap. His fee was $10,000. A lot of people would have stopped right there and said, whoa, $10,000. Like, I don't know if I want to do this, And I had that knee-jerk reaction too. I'm like, man, 10 grand to pay this guy to shop around for a loan? Well,
that's what keeps other people from making those decisions to get farther ahead, is by not wanting to let go or invest in themselves or other people.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to like, some people don't want to pay a real estate agent their commission. No, I pay them full commission. Everybody I work, whether it's referral fees or agent commissions or anything like that, these guys are bringing me deals. They're helping me out with stuff that I don't know all the things. And I'm never going to know all the things. So you got to lean on these people, whether a title company. I just had a question. I called a title company that I use all the time. And it's invaluable to have that resource to answer those questions. Yeah. So he would put together these packages and shop them to different banks. And if it was $1 million plus transaction, they took a percentage. Mine was just barely under $1 million transaction. So it's a flat fee of 10 grand. And my emotional side is like, oh God, like this is crazy. What are you doing? But I have to stop that emotion. And I say, I'm going to write down some numbers. I'm going to put some numbers in a spreadsheet. I'm going to do a calculation. How much profit potential could I make? If I can make $50,000 a year from this property. Who cares about 10 grand?
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay that in the first quarter. And then after that, it's just icing on the cake.
And you've also maybe learned how to make even more equity or more income out of the property than what it was producing to begin with, right?
Yeah.
You've done some things.
Yeah. This is just, same thing with the houses I buy. I always look for value add. I always look for something that has deferred maintenance. I don't buy retail. Some people do, and that's fine. Some people don't have any time to mess with it. If they got a full-time job, they'll buy like a turnkey property. For me, the way I do this stuff is I usually try to buy it below market or off market stuff that scares other people.
Mm-hmm. And making sure the vendors you work with get paid, because they're going to be the guys that bring you business and do work hard for you. Like, because if you pay a contractor what he's worth when he does work for you, he's going to come back and let you hire him again. But if you squeeze him, you're not going to be on the first on his list to help out next time.
Yeah, for sure. And you want to have those people, you want to treat your people good, because if you treat people good, they'll treat you good as well.
Yeah.
So that deal, the agent got his commission. This financial guy, he got his commission as well. I bought the property. Now, the good thing about, remember, 2020, I'm still working the IT job.
Mm-hmm.
So the nice thing for me was that I could work remote. So all these things lined up just perfectly to where I was able to refinance some properties to get the down payment to buy the RV park. I could work remote, which meant that, I didn't know that much about operating an RV park.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this is going to be trial by fire. I'm learning as I'm doing things, but I've also got some deferred maintenance. I got some, I got a septic system over here that's not working right. I got some electrical connections that aren't working, some washers and dryers that aren't working. I got stuff to do. So, it's about an hour and a half from my house. So what I would do is I would just stay out there at the RV park. I had a camper. I parked my camper at the RV park. It had a front office that nobody was using, and just had a bunch of old office stuff in there. Just clear all that stuff to the side and set up my computer. So during the day, I was taking phone calls, emails, stuff like that, doing my IT job, remote. It didn't matter where I was. I had a good internet connection. I could do work. Now, when the IT job was over, at 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon, I'd go out there and I'd start working all afternoon on this RV park and getting everything set up. Again, it's just kind of setting up those little franchises, putting these procedures in place, putting these policies in place and such. And, as I've learned over the 2.5 years, it's a totally different animal because an RV park is running the business. Mm-hmm. Whereas most of my rental properties, I didn't actually reach out to a property manager until I think I had maybe 10 properties. And it got to the point to where, I had my weekends consumed with toilets, and issues, tenants, all stuff like that. But also, too, I was getting tenants from signs in the yard and Craigslist and stuff like that. Facebook wasn't that great.
There's some benefits of outsourcing certain core responsibilities so you can focus on the things that you're good at, which is buying property.
Yeah, and I have a frugal nature, and this goes. I'm tying this back to pay people what they're worth, because I was always like, I don't want to give up certain percentage of my income to a property manager. But insert the number here, $90, $100 more a month I could make on this property. What I found, though, within the first year going to a good, competent property manager, I got better tenants that treat my property better, that stayed there longer, so I had less vacancy. But also, too, that property manager told me things, hey, if you do this, you'll get a higher market value. If you maybe change this or change the landscaping a little bit, add another parking space, we can get you another $100 a month. So they pay for themselves, within the first year, which somebody working for you, if they're doing a good job, they will pay for themselves. And that allowed me to buy other properties as well in the future.
Well, it freed up your time.
Yeah. So I bought 4 or 5 properties. I went through 2008. My daughter was born in 2007. And I didn't do real estate for a while. I had those rentals. I just kept them as rentals for many years. I think I didn't buy the next rental property until about 2015. So I went a long time without buying another property. I got busy with life, and I was busy with my daughter and doing stuff with the family and things like that. I didn't do that many more properties. And in 2015, I bought another property, and I started ramping up. I'm like, okay, I had this plan, and I missed my mark. I was like, I'm going to retire when I'm 30. shot that. I've completely went past that mark. It doesn't mean I've failed. It just means like, hey, like I need to work more at this. I need to focus more on this. I think sometimes people, if they buy a property or get into something, they think, oh, the first 6 months or a year didn't work. And again, this is the long term.
Yeah, it takes a long time to lose money in real estate. You've got to, because as long as you can outrun your losses with time.
Oh yeah, time heals all in most situations, as long as you have time. So 2015, I started ramping up and buying some more properties, and then really getting aggressive in 2018, 2019, and all through 2020, 2021, 22. I just kept on plugging away. And let's see, February of last year, so it's been a year and 4 months. I finally decided to leave my W-2 job.
You had it all pretty well figured out, so you didn't really have a whole lot of trepidation or hesitation on that.
Yes, and anytime you're walking away from a job that pays you really good, that gives you benefits and all that, I had this voice inside of my head, my parents and my grandparents telling me, "You've got a good job. It's steady. Don't leave the company. Don't walk away from it. What are you, crazy?
Health insurance, 401k.
Yeah. You got everything, and you get paid good." So yeah, again, it's a big change. Buying the first property, buying the RV park, leaving my job. These are all big life-changing events. Of course I was scared. Of course I was nervous about this. Yeah, I checked all the boxes, and, the math made sense. But my emotional side is still there, where I'm like, ooh, this is scary. People jump out of planes all the time, go skydiving, and 99.9% of the time they're fine. But every time everybody jumps out of the plane, that emotional side, it's heart racing. And that's some people do that because they like that. Now, as far as leaving the job, the last year that I worked there, I told myself I'm going to do a proof of concept. So for 12 months, I did not use any of the money that I received from my W-2 job. I said, I'm just going to put this money into savings, and I'm going to draw enough off of the real estate to where I can live off it. For the longest time, all the money from the real estate, I would just put it back into, buying another property, getting another thing. I read a book, I think it's called Pay Yourself First.
Yeah, good one.
Okay. Yeah, so that got me thinking, like, I should start paying myself 1% or something. You got to start somewhere. Because if not, what's the point of all this? And so after reading that book, I put together, I'm like, hey, here's the bare minimum to pay my bills. And that's what I'm going to draw every month from the business. And that's what I did. Again, really frugal. There wasn't enough money in there to buy a new car. There wasn't anything for, expensive trips, not even really a vacation. My vacations are paid by credit card points. Now, when I buy all my stuff for my real estate, I put on a credit card and I use those points to take a vacation. So frugal in that sense, Mr. Money Mustache stuff like that, just, learning how to be, just really live below your means. But so for 12 months, all that W-2 income, I totally just put that in savings. And after 12 months, I said, well, I've proved to myself I'm still here and I can still do it. So, and also my employer, I gave them like a 90-day window. I want to leave in good graces. I trained up another person to take my position, all that. I wasn't looking to burn any bridges because I still wanted the option there if I wanted to do some contract work or something in the future, which they've never called me on, which is fine.
Yeah.
So that last day, of course, it's spring, and then you wake up the next day and you're like,
what do you do?
What do I do? What do I do? But then also it was the realization I can do anything I want, anything I want, So what I do the first year, I bought a dozen more houses.
Yeah.
And I've just been building on it since. I'm at a point now to where I enjoy doing a lot of this. I don't have to do as much hands-on work. I can hire out a lot of people to do a lot of that work. I'm still involved with it. And yeah, I still do some sweat equity. I enjoy it sometimes, even though I probably shouldn't spend so much time in the business.
Yeah, but that's your personality. That's what you want to do. So now you got the time, flexibility to do it.
But the good thing too is, I'm planning a vacation coming up next month. I'll take 2 or 3 weeks off. I don't have to ask anybody. I've got an assistant that helps me with a lot of these things. So, she can handle most of the stuff. When I come into town every 2 or 3 days, I answer a couple of phone calls and some emails, and property managers are going to take care of the property, the single family rentals. My assistant's going to handle most of the RV park, and I've got a couple, other people that do some construction work that'll help me out if I'm out of town. They need to do a little fix up or repairs. They can do that stuff. So, and then from a day-to-day basis, like the next tomorrow, and so Thursday and Friday, I'm not really going to be doing any work. My mom's getting some foundation work done in her house, and I'm going to be working on a classic car. I got this old 1969 Dodge Dart that I'm going to be wrenching on, trying to get it running. And I love, going back to the beginning, I love motorsports and stuff like that. So I'll be working on that for a couple of days.
That's good. So I'm going to tell everybody that's listening that you've taken it to the extreme on real estate investing. Like you've made it your job. You've made it you've done it all the way. But you don't have to, right? Like you know people that have just bought 2 or 3 houses and been happy and done well with them, right? But
yeah, totally. I mean, just buying one house a year. I see some people that buy one house a year. Maybe they buy 2 houses a year, and you get the rental income, you get the asset appreciation, you get the tax deductions, which those are all huge things, and they add up to be profitable. Nobody has to do it as much as I do, but at the same time, I see people who do 3 times as much as I do. And I'm like, wow, how do they do that? I try to strike a balance somewhere to where I enjoy doing the business. I don't have to buy another property at all. I can live the rest of my life without buying another property. I like putting together some of the deals, but also too, motorsports and stuff like that, those become expensive hobbies. When you're buying tires and wheels and brakes and stuff like that, and you think, well, I would like to have a new Corvette. And maybe if I buy a couple more rentals, I can afford the payment on a new Corvette. That sounds good. So it's not anything that I have to do. I enjoy putting the transactions together. I really enjoy seeing, a 100-year-old house or 50-year-old house being transformed into into something that somebody can call their home. It's a nice place for them to live. So I enjoy seeing the transformation process as well. And I do a lot of pictures and videos and stuff like that because I enjoy just kind of seeing those.
Well, and everybody else gets to live a little vicariously too by watching.
Yeah.
About what you're doing.
Yeah. It's not, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't know everything. This isn't really rocket science. And there's so many, I think of all the other businesses, real estate is special. And there's so many people that are willing to help you. There's local clubs you can join. I found so many of my vendors, mentors, people I work with from local clubs, other businesses, if you get into plumbing.
Yeah, nobody's hiding secrets. Like, I'd share everything with everybody else, and it's an abundance mentality type of business because we know that, you help everybody else and it comes around or you feel good. That's not helping somebody is not going to hurt you. And I think that really shines a lot more in real estate than it does in other businesses. What advice would you give to somebody that hadn't bought their first house yet?
Well, I think I'd start out with, reading a couple of books. Of course, like, everybody recommends A Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Of course.
But hey, it holds the candle because it's the baseline of, like I said, making money while you sleep. A cash flow quadrant, I think, was actually one of his best.
That was his best one.
Yeah. To where it really explains, like, even though a doctor might be high paying, when a doctor goes on vacation, they make 0 income.
Yeah.
Unless they own part of the hospital that they work.
Well, we've got a family friend that's a pediatrician, and she was telling us when she went off on vacation for a week, it cost her not just the vacation, but she had to pay the person that took her place and her staff. So she was down. It cost her more to leave. She should have just, I guess, shut everything down for a week, but you can't really do that when you're a pediatrician, I guess. But it cost her to go on vacation.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as somebody getting started out, I think, reading a couple of those good books, but also too, whatever location somebody's in, just Google local REI club. And you can find that. You can start talking to people. And a lot of these clubs and all these people, you can share information with and be like, hey, is this a decent deal? Is this a good deal? Can I do this? But also, if you're working with a hard money lender or a bank, or a lot of hard money lenders, you're buying a rehab, a lot of hard money lenders will tell you, hey, this property's not worth it.
Yeah, they don't want to take a house back. They want you to do well.
Or if it's a good deal, they'll say, yeah, heck yeah, we'll lend on this for sure. We'll do it. Then you've got a good deal. You can move forward with it. You don't have to know everything else. You don't need the analysis paralysis. Sometimes you just have to pull the trigger. And if people go to a tech school or people go to college, how many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars do they spend on education?
A lot.
So even if the first 6 months or first year you lose a little money on the house, don't think about it negatively. Think about all the learning you've got in that. Think about how you can make it better. Keep in communication. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy of like, oh, I made a mistake. I'm going to go hide and not talk to anybody. The more people, whenever I come across a problem, I talk to all the people I know. I say, I got this problem. I don't know how to handle it. I'll find an answer. Somebody has some advice they can give me, and I'll figure out an answer.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a free education. And then there's also, you got all your network. That's the thing, is building up that network helps.
And I've talked, I've mentored some people as well. I think the big difference is I've mentored some people that want to talk a lot and then never really want to take action, or maybe they'll talk once or twice and then just kind of disappear.
They don't. They get distracted. They get some shiny object, and they like, oh, I'll put it off till next year. And then next year comes, and then I'll put it off next year. And then they look up, and they had a lot of years they could have just.
Or maybe they get a raise at work and think, well, I'm making a little bit more money this year, and maybe they got, like my old job, they would, hey, congratulations, you got a 3% raise. And I would say, wait, inflation's 5%. So technically I got a 2% pay cut.
Yeah, kind of the way it goes.
And I realized that they would pay me just enough where I wouldn't leave.
Yeah. Well, it's a handcuff thing. That's what these W-2s are.
Yeah.
But, we could talk forever because
oh yeah,
I love that. But I really want to thank you, Ryan, for coming on and just sharing your story, because I think it's very inspirational to other people to let it be known that it can be done. I mean, you didn't graduate from high school, and you're way more successful than most everybody I know. So I think that says a lot. That first house, what you did to get that first one, and what you sacrificed as far as time, energy, effort, and then kept doing it. I think that is a great example for especially even young guys coming out, or young ladies coming out of high school or college and wanting to do something. Just don't get caught up with all the shiny objects and the new Beamer, and live frugal, live underneath your means, and then like invest what you can for your future. And I think that's a big important takeaway that you've given, because I've got a lot of guys that have started buying houses later in life, and that's completely fine because they can do it differently. Then there's people that started early with less, and I think you've proven that that's a pretty rock star business model.
Oh yeah, time really compounds all that money that you can make.
Yeah.
And putting off buying a new car, maybe a new house or something special for yourself, putting that into investment that'll give you, I mean, for me, the most valuable asset that I can have is time, freedom of my time to do whatever I want with. That's the most valuable thing, because you can't buy more of that.
Yeah. And talking about time, I'm looking forward to next Saturday on our cycling trip. So I hate that I'm going to slow you down, but I'm looking forward to it.
No, it's going to be fun.
Have a great time. Thanks for going with me, because otherwise it'd just be me and probably a whole bunch of other little grade school kids, because I'm doing the slower route. But no, I appreciate that. But thank you for spending your time. And, I really do appreciate that. I owe you lunch or something next time I see you. But otherwise, have a great week. And I'll let you know when this podcast comes out.
Okay. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Ron.